Laura is a talented mid-career journalist, exhausted by years of covering dark and tragic stories. Recently, a woman she interviewed about stolen humanitarian aid was murdered. So, when Laura receives an invitation to cover a charity cruise hosted by a wealthy Norwegian couple, she sees it as a chance to write something hopeful for once. The event is organized by Richard, a businessman, in honor of his terminally ill wife, Anne, who's dying of cancer. The guests, all rich philanthropists, will sail on their private yacht for a fundraising dinner. Laura joins them, unaware of the nightmare awaiting her. As soon as she boards, she's surprised by the strict yacht etiquette. Everyone must remove their shoes and wear slippers or socks. Fortunately, champagne is immediately offered, which helps ease her nerves. But things get awkward when she discovers that the onboard photographer is Ben, her ex-boyfriend. During dinner, Richard gives a speech thanking everyone for coming. Anne stays in her cabin, too weak to join them yet. Laura feels out of place among the elite guests. While hiding from Ben and his new girlfriend, she accidentally walks into the wrong cabin, startling a blonde woman with wet hair. Later that evening, Laura meets Anne, the frail hostess, who compliments her writing. Anne reveals she has stopped treatment and doesn't have long left. She asks Laura to proofread her speech for tomorrow's charity event, where she plans to donate all her fortune to charity. That night, Laura wakes up to strange noises coming from the neighboring cabin, the same one where she met the blonde woman. She hears screams, muffled thuds, and finally a splash. Looking out from her balcony, she sees ripples in the dark sea. Someone has been thrown overboard. Terrified, she calls the steward, reporting a man overboard. The crew checks, but everyone seems to be accounted for. The only missing person, Lars, is found later in the library, and the blonde gallery owner, Heidi, is discovered drunk in the bathroom. The staff insists no one occupies cabin 10, the one next to Laura's. But Laura remembers the bloody handprint on her balcony door, and the cigarette butts she saw outside, which have now disappeared. Everyone dismisses her as delusional and sends her back to rest. The next morning, Laura asks Richard to show her the crew, thinking maybe the missing woman was one of them. He laughs it off but agrees. None of the crew match the blonde she saw. Later, Anne appears confused and weak, not remembering their previous conversation. Disturbed, Laura tells Ben she knows what she saw. Going through Ben's photos, Laura finds an image from a previous party, showing that same blonde woman standing next to a rich man named Adam, but everyone on board denies knowing her. Laura's instincts scream that something is very wrong. The ship's doctor, Robert, gently suggests she might be suffering from trauma. After all, her recent interviewee was drowned. Richard promises to ask the head of security, Sigrid, to look into it, but reminds Laura that she's here to work, not investigate. Trying to relax, Laura visits the onboard spa, but on the fog glass door, someone has written with their finger, "Stop." When she asks for the surveillance footage, she's told the cameras are disabled to protect guests' privacy. Perfect. No witnesses. Determined, Laura sneaks onto the next balcony to check the adjacent shower, where she finds a clump of blonde hair in the sink. Proof someone lived there. She hides it in her cabin. Ben warns her not to provoke the powerful hosts and promises to help her go to the police once they dock. Later, Laura meets Lars's girlfriend, who reveals he runs a facial recognition company and dislikes women. She's just a paid companion for appearances. Laura also confronts Heidi, who warns her to stop asking questions. You'll only make enemies here. During the next party, a strange musician named Danny plays guitar and reminds Anne how they sang together last year. But Anne suddenly leaves, escorted away by the doctor and security. Laura grows more suspicious. The following morning, while everyone goes whale watching, Laura checks her cabin. The hair sample is still there, but now she finds a button on the floor. Someone searched her room. When she goes outside for air, someone pushes her into the pool and traps her under the closing cover. Laura nearly drowns before guests notice and pull her out. She accuses the doctor, who's missing a button from his sleeve, but he denies everything. Later, her soaked coat is taken for cleaning, and the evidence hidden in its pocket disappears. Only Ben knew about it. Danny leaves the yacht, and the other guests turn against Laura, calling her paranoid. That night, she sees a shadow outside her door, a blonde woman walking away. She follows her to the engine room and finally comes face to face with the supposed victim. Alive. The blonde reveals her name is Carrie. She's been pretending to be Anne. Richard found her through facial recognition software and hired her to impersonate his dying wife to rewrite the will in his favor. The real Anne caught them together, and in panic, Richard killed her and dumped the body overboard. Carrie admits she agreed to the plan for money. She has a daughter in an orphanage. Laura warns her that Richard will kill her too once the will is signed, but Carrie is terrified and returns to play her role. Meanwhile, Ben confronts the doctor, who lies that Laura has been sedated. Richard orders them to take care of the problem. Carrie overhears their conversation and secretly unlocks the storage hatch, giving Laura a chance to escape once they reach shore. But when the yacht anchors offshore, Laura is still trapped below deck. The guests are told she's resting. Ben, refusing to leave without her, sneaks back on board. Laura manages to escape, grabs Anne's speech, and tries to call for help. The doctor attacks her with a syringe, but accidentally injects Ben instead. Dying, he tells Laura to run and expose the truth. She jumps into the freezing ocean and swims toward a fisherman's cabin on the coast. Everyone assumes she's dead. Meanwhile, Carrie signs the will as planned and prepares for the charity dinner, the final act of Richard's scheme. But Laura, alive and determined, arrives at the event with the real speech in hand and tells Sigrid everything. During the gala, as Richard boasts to the guests, Sigrid brings Laura inside. He panics, shouting that this woman isn't his wife, and grabs Carrie, holding a knife to her throat. A struggle breaks out. Richard flees toward the yacht. Laura hits him with a metal bar, and he falls to his death. In the aftermath, Laura writes a powerful article about the events. Anne's charity foundation continues under Carrie's care, who finally reunites with her daughter. Laura, however, decides she's not ready for new journeys, not after what happened at sea. And that's it for today's recap, everyone. If you enjoyed this mystery thriller, hit that like button, subscribe to Recap Sprint, and tell us in the comments what film you'd like to see next. Until next time, stay curious and keep watching smart.